There's a moment that happens, usually around 2 a.m. scrolling through Instagram, seeing another engagement announcement from someone younger. The math starts happening in her head. 35, no husband, no kids. That friend from college just posted her third baby. The panic isn't loud, it's a quiet terror that starts in the chest and spreads everywhere. How did I get here? Let me tell you what really happens when a woman realizes she's 35 and still alone, because nobody talks about the psychological earthquake that follows. The fear of being left behind hits different at 35 than at 25. At 25, being single is freedom. At 35, it's a diagnosis. Every wedding invitation feels like a reminder of failure. Every baby shower is emotional torture. She jokes about it. I'm the fun aunt. But underneath, there's this creeping horror that everyone else got the manual for life and she's been winging it with missing pages. I counselled someone recently who described it perfectly. She said it's like being at a train station where everyone else caught their train and she's still on the platform, but now the schedule board is blank. The trains aren't even stopping anymore. That's not just loneliness. That's existential terror dressed up in yoga pants and a wine glass. The social pressure at this age is crushing. Her mother starts every conversation with any nice men. Her married friends set her up with their husband's weird cousin. Her younger sister's pregnancy announcement feels like a knife. Society has a timeline for women, and at 35, she's not just behind schedule. She's approaching the point where people stop asking because it's too awkward. The biological clock isn't just ticking, it's screaming. Every period is a reminder. Every pregnancy announcement on social media is a gut punch. The math becomes obsessive. If I meet someone tomorrow, date for a year, engage for 6 months, married, try for a baby, I'll be 38 inches. The window isn't just closing, it's slamming shut while she watches. Here's where the decline of romantic selectivity gets interesting. Some women at this point lower their standards to basement level. That guy who lives with his mother and has 3 DUIs. Maybe he has potential. The married man who promises he'll leave his wife? Worth considering. The ex who cheated 4 times? People change, right? The desperation overwrites common sense, but others go the opposite direction. They become impossibly picky. Every date becomes an interview for husband and father. Every minor flaw becomes a deal breaker. He's perfect, but he's 5 feet 11 inches, not 6 feet. Next. Great guy, but his job isn't impressive enough? Pass. It's self-sabotage disguised as standards. They're rejecting men before men can reject them. The internal conflict between desire and dignity is brutal. Part of her wants to grab the next decent man and lock it down, get pregnant immediately, force the timeline. Another part of her would rather die alone than settle. These two parts war constantly. Monday, she's downloading every dating app. Thursday, she's deleting them all. Saturday, she's at a bar trying too hard. Sunday, she's swearing off men forever. This creates the most inconsistent behaviour. She'll pursue someone aggressively, then ghost when they show interest. She'll demand commitment, then panic when it's offered. She wants a relationship desperately, but sabotages every opportunity. Men get whiplash trying to follow the emotional ping-pong. The coping mechanisms split into 2 types. First is the Ice Queen approach, total emotional detachment. These women become professionally successful, personally unreachable. They schedule intimacy like business meetings. They approach dating like acquiring assets. They've turned their heart into a fortress nobody can breach, including themselves. The second type goes full emotional hurricane. They overshare on first dates about their timeline. They cry at random moments about being alone. They text too much, need constant reassurance, interpret everything as rejection. They're so terrified of abandonment, they create it through suffocation. Both approaches are just different flavors of terror management. The blaming men phase is almost universal. Men are intimidated by successful women. Men only want younger women. Men can't handle emotional depth. It's easier than examining why she spent her 20s and early 30s chasing men who wouldn't commit. Easier than admitting she friend-zoned the good ones and chased the players. Her friends enable this denial. You're too good for them. Men just can't appreciate a real woman. You're so brave for having standards. Nobody tells her the truth, that she might be the common denominator in her failed relationships. But maybe, just maybe, some introspection is needed. Her mother either makes it worse or enables further. Either it's, When I was your age, I had 3 kids, which adds shame, or it's, you're too good for all of them anyway, which prevents growth. Rarely does anyone say, let's honestly examine your patterns and what you might need to change. The hormonal influence is rarely discussed, but it's huge. Estrogen and progesterone fluctuations in the mid-30s create emotional chaos. The biological drive to reproduce intensifies everything. She's not just emotionally wanting a baby. Every cell in her body is screaming for it. This biological urgency clouds judgment worse than alcohol. The desperation becomes palpable. She enters relationships from emotional starvation rather than abundance. She's not looking for a partner, she's looking for a savior. Someone to rescue her from the timeline, from the loneliness, from the shame of being leftover. This energy repels quality men and attracts predators who smell vulnerability. I've watched this dynamic so many times. Woman meets decent man. Within 3 dates, she's planning their wedding. By month 2, she's pushing to move in. Month 3, she's mentioning babies. The man, reasonably freaked out by the pressure, pulls back. She interprets this as rejection, gets more desperate, pushes harder. He runs. She confirms her belief that all men leave. The envy and social comparison is poisonous. She can't be happy for pregnant friends anymore. Every engagement announcement triggers a crying session. She starts avoiding social media because the happiness of others feels like personal attack. The bitterness builds. She becomes the friend who makes sarcastic comments at weddings. Some women cope by developing superiority complexes. I could be married if I lowered my standards like Sarah did. Jenny's husband is basically her child. Amanda gave up her career for kids, so sad. They tear down others' relationships to feel better about not having one. It's transparent and pushes people away, increasing isolation. The fear of loneliness drives insane decisions. Moving in with someone after 2 months because an empty apartment feels like death. Staying in toxic relationships because bad company beats no company. Getting pregnant by unsuitable men because a baby means never being alone. The fear overrides all logic. But here's the crucial insight. The inability to enjoy solitude is the core problem. These women never learned to be alone. They went from parents' house to college roommates to boyfriends to more boyfriends. They've never sat with themselves, learned who they are without external validation. They're strangers to themselves. The women who find healthy relationships later are different. They've built rich, fulfilling lives alone. They have hobbies, passions, friend groups, purpose. They're not looking for someone to complete them. They're already complete. They want someone to share abundance with, not fill a void. This healthy self-sufficiency is magnetic. Men can sense the difference between I want you and I need you. The first is attractive, the second is terrifying. Desperate energy creates a repelling field that pushes away anyone worth having. Only emotional vampires are attracted to emotional desperation. The savior complex these women develop is relationship poison. They're not looking for partners, they're looking for heroes. Someone to rescue them from their life, their choices, their timeline. But grown men don't want to be saviors. They want equals who bring joy, not projects who bring need. This speedrun approach to relationships is comedy, if it wasn't tragedy. Meet online Monday, first date Wednesday, exclusive by Sunday, meeting parents in month 1, moving in month 3, engaged month 6. It's relationship on fast forward, trying to compress years into months. It never works. You can't microwave intimacy. I had someone tell me she gave a man an ultimatum on their 4th date. Commit to marriage within a year or she's out. 4th date. She wondered why he never called again. The lack of self-awareness was stunning. She literally threatened a stranger with a deadline and expected love to bloom. Society's double standards make this worse. Women are judged for being single, but also judged for being desperate. Condemned for focusing on career but mocked for wanting family. Told to be independent but shamed for being alone. The mixed messages create psychological chaos. There's no winning move. The emotional inheritance from parents shapes everything. Many of these women had fathers who were emotionally absent or mothers who were unhappily married. They're carrying family trauma they don't even recognize. They're trying to heal childhood wounds through adult relationships. It never works. The father wound is particularly brutal. Some women idealized absent fathers, creating impossible standards no man can meet. Others had critical fathers and now seek male approval compulsively. They're not dating men, they're dating daddy issues. Until that's resolved, every relationship is doomed. The loyalty to maternal suffering is heartbreaking. Daughters unconsciously replicate their mother's unhappiness out of misguided loyalty. If mum was single or unhappily married, being happily partnered feels like betrayal. They sabotage good relationships to stay aligned with maternal pain. The independent wild woman illusion is everywhere on social media. 35 and thriving. Who needs a man? But scroll through their posts. It's all wine jokes and cat memes masking profound loneliness. The forced positivity is exhausting to maintain. The mask is cracking. The sexual liberation angle becomes desperate. Suddenly she's dating 25-year-olds, posting thirst traps, talking about her hot girl summer at 36. It's not empowerment. It's panic dressed up as confidence, using sexuality to prove she's still viable, still wanted, still in the game. But casual sex at 35 hits different than at 25. The body keeps score. Each encounter that doesn't lead to connection deepens the emptiness. The validation is temporary, the hollow feeling is permanent. She's trying to fuck her way out of existential crisis. It doesn't work. The denial through humour becomes a shield. Self-deprecating jokes about being a crazy cat lady, or forever alone. Memes about dying alone. It's gallows humour, laughing to avoid crying. But humour doesn't change reality, it just makes it temporarily bearable. The MLF fantasy culture is cruel false hope. Media sells this idea that 35-year-old women are irresistible to younger men. Some are for one night. But 25-year-old men aren't looking for wives in 35-year-old women. They're looking for experiences. The power dynamic these women imagine doesn't exist. The loss of authenticity after years of performing is tragic. They've been playing roles so long: cool girl, independent woman, unbothered queen. They've forgotten who they really are. The authentic self is buried under layers of protective personas. No wonder connection feels impossible. The destructive dating patterns become entrenched. Pursuing unavailable men because they're safe can't be rejected if they were never really available. Choosing men who need fixing because it feels like purpose. Rejecting good men because they're boring, meaning stable. The patterns repeat endlessly. Real healing requires brutal honesty. Therapy to unpack family patterns, examining every failed relationship for common denominators, taking responsibility for choices. Stop blaming men, timing, society, and distortion. Soul key and look inward. What are you doing to create these outcomes? The need for introspection and humility is essential. Maybe you're not too good for everyone. Maybe your standards aren't high, they're impossible. Maybe you're the difficult one. Maybe you need to change. This isn't self-blame, it's self-awareness. Power comes from recognizing what you can control. Personal responsibility is liberation. If you're 35 and alone, you made choices that led here. Not bad choices necessarily, just choices with consequences. Own them, learn from them, make different choices moving forward. You're not a victim of circumstances, you're a creator of them. The path forward is building joyful self-connection. Create a life so fulfilling that partnership becomes bonus, not necessity. Develop interests beyond finding a man. Build friendships that aren't just complaint circles. Find purpose beyond reproduction. Become someone you'd want to date. Mature love requires different skills than young love. At 35, you're not growing together. You're merging established lives. That requires negotiation, compromise, patience. You can't expect someone to change their entire life immediately. Integration takes time. The control addiction has to die. You can't spreadsheet your way to love, can't force timeline, can't negotiate attraction. Love happens when you stop strangling it with demands. Release the death grip on outcomes. Let things unfold naturally. Redefining success is crucial. Maybe you won't have biological kids. Maybe you won't have a traditional marriage. So what? Fulfillment comes in many forms. Some of the happiest people I know are child-free by choice or circumstance. Success is emotional wholeness, not checking societal boxes. For younger women watching, learn from this. Don't spend your 20s chasing perfection or finding yourself at the expense of building bonds. The men who want commitment at 25 won't be available at 35. The choices you make now determine options later. The empowerment through acceptance is real freedom. Accept your age, your history, your reduced options. Not with defeat, but with clarity. You're 35, not 25. Work with reality, not against it. There's power in accepting what is rather than mourning what isn't. Dating at 35 requires different strategy than 25. You can't party until 4 a.m. and look fresh. You can't compete with 25-year-olds for 30-year-old men. But you have advantages: experience, clarity, financial stability, emotional depth. Play to strengths, not weaknesses. The timeline grief is real and needs processing. Mourn the life you thought you'd have. Cry about it. Rage about it. Then let go. The imaginary future you lost is preventing the real future you could have. Stop living in the gap between expectation and reality. Some practical truths. Most quality men your age are married or damaged from divorce. The dating pool is smaller and more complicated. That's not hopeless, just realistic. Adjust expectations accordingly. You're not shopping at the same store anymore. The biological reality can't be ignored. If you want biological children, every month matters now. That doesn't mean panic, but it means priority. Stop wasting time on men who aren't sure. Stop pretending you have forever. You don't. But here's the hope. Love is possible at any age for those who do the work. Internal work, therapy work, shadow work, healing work. The woman who addresses her issues, develops self-awareness, and approaches dating from wholeness rather than need. She finds partnership. I've seen women find incredible love at 35, 40, 45. Always the same pattern. They stopped desperately seeking and started peacefully being. They built beautiful lives alone. Then someone appeared who wanted to add to that beauty, not fill a void. The difference between desperate and magnetic is internal fullness. Desperate women drain energy. Magnetic women generate it. Desperate women need saving, magnetic women need nothing. Desperate women chase, magnetic women attract, become magnetic. The shadow work is non-negotiable. Why do you really want a partner? To avoid loneliness? To prove worth? To compete with friends? To please parents? Until you know the real why, you'll attract the wrong who. Unconscious needs create conscious disasters. Stop performing readiness for relationships. Stop pretending you're healed when you're hemorrhaging. Stop acting confident when you're terrified. Do the actual work. Feel the actual feelings. Heal the actual wounds. Performance attracts performers. Authenticity attracts authentic connection. The friend group audit is necessary. If your friends are all bitter, single women reinforcing victim narratives, find new friends. If they're all smug married women making you feel defective, find new friends. Surround yourself with people who challenge growth, not enable stagnation. The family boundary setting is crucial. Your mother's anxiety about grandchildren isn't your emergency. Your father's disappointment isn't your responsibility. Your siblings' opinions don't matter. Set boundaries or their fears become your decisions. Dating apps at 35 require a different approach. Your profile shouldn't scream desperation or timeline, but also don't pretend you're 25 and just seeing what happens. Be clear about wanting partnership without seeming like you'll take anyone. It's a fine line requiring actual confidence, not performed confidence. The X-review is painful but necessary. List every significant relationship. Write why it ended. Look for patterns. Are you choosing the same unavailable type? Are you creating the same dynamics? Are you ending things the same way? Patterns reveal programming. Programming can be changed. Stop romanticizing the past. That ex who got away, he didn't get away, it didn't work for reasons. Those years you wasted. You didn't waste them, you lived them. Stop treating your history like failure and start treating it like education. The body acceptance is mandatory. You're not 25. Your body shows years lived. That's not shameful, it's real. The men worth having at 35 understand body's age. The ones demanding 25-year-old bodies at 35 are telling you they're not serious. Listen. The vulnerability balance is delicate. Share enough to connect, not so much you trauma dump. Be open about wanting partnership, not desperate about needing it. Show emotion without becoming emotional burden. This requires practice and calibration. Learning emotional communication at 35 is harder than at 25. You have more walls, more wounds, more defenses. The person you're trying to connect with has the same. Two fortified castles trying to build a bridge. It takes patience neither of you might have developed. You're both set in your ways, your routines, your perspectives. Merging lives at this age is like trying to combine two complete ecosystems. Possible, but requiring delicate balance. The letting go of control is perhaps the hardest lesson. You've been independent for so long, making every decision alone. Now someone else's preferences matter. Their schedule affects yours. Their family becomes your concern. For women who've built fortress-like independence, allowing someone in feels like demolition. But love requires porousness, not walls. The redefinition of femininity at this age is complex. You're not the fresh young thing anymore, but you're not ready for invisibility. You're caught between youth and middle age, between possibility and limitation. Some women try to compete with younger versions of themselves. Others give up entirely. The wise ones realize they're entering a different kind of power. The attractiveness of self-knowledge, confidence, achievement. The accumulated emotional baggage needs addressing. By 35, you've had real heartbreak, real disappointment, real betrayal. You're not coming to love fresh, you're coming with scar tissue. Every new person pays for the sins of the previous ones unless you do the work to separate past from present. That guy who doesn't text back immediately, he's not your ex who was cheating. That moment of distance is not the beginning of abandonment, but your nervous system doesn't know that without retraining. The encouragement for younger women watching needs to be clear. Don't wait for perfect. The perfect man at 25 who you rejected for minor flaws is someone's excellent husband at 35. The boring guy who wanted commitment is now the stable father others wish they'd chosen. The grass isn't greener later, it's different grass, often artificial turf. The performance exhaustion is real. Pretending you're thriving when you're dying inside. Posting happy photos while crying yourself to sleep, acting like you chose this when it chose you. The energy required to maintain the facade could be used for actual growth, but the facade feels safer than vulnerability. The overnight urgency shift is jarring. At 34 you have time, at 35 suddenly you don't. It's arbitrary but psychologically real. The number carries weight that 34 doesn't. It's the official entry into advanced maternal age. It's the checkbox that moves you to a different category. The same woman who was picky at 34 becomes panicked at 35, not because anything actually changed, but because the number did. The last chance mentality creates terrible decisions. This might be your last shot at kids. This might be your last attractive years. This might be your last chance at love. Operating from scarcity creates scarcity. Men smell the desperation like blood in water. The very urgency that drives you to act repels what you're trying to attract. The reconciliation with choices is necessary. You chose career over relationships. Own it. You chose freedom over commitment. Own it. You chose the exciting men over the stable ones. Own it. Not with shame, but with acceptance. You made the best decisions you could with the information you had, but also acknowledge choices have consequences. You're living those consequences now. The hope and self-worth must be cultivated daily. You're not expired at 35. You're not worthless without children. You're not pathetic for being alone. You're a human who made human choices living a human life. The narrative that you're past your prime is cultural poison. Your prime might be right now if you choose growth over grief. The ultimate message is this: emotional wholeness attracts emotional wholeness. Broken attracts broken. Desperate attracts predators, but whole attracts whole. The woman who builds a complete life, addresses her wounds, takes responsibility for her patterns, and approaches dating from abundance rather than scarcity. She has options at any age. Stop waiting for rescue. Stop hoping for accident. Stop believing in fairy tales. Start building the life you want alone, and someone worthy might want to join it. Or they might not, and you'll still have a beautiful life. That's the paradox. When you no longer need it, it often appears. When you're complete alone, you become attractive to other complete people. The final truth is this: 35 and alone isn't a tragedy unless you make it one. It's a transition point, a moment of reckoning, an opportunity for radical transformation. The women who use it as catalyst for growth find love, either with themselves, with others, or both. The ones who collapse into victimhood find wine and cats. Your story isn't written yet. 35 is young enough to change everything but old enough to know better. Use that wisdom. Do the work. Stop the patterns. Heal the wounds. Build the life. The next chapter could be your best chapter, but only if you stop rereading the previous ones. I want to hear from you. If you're a woman over 35 who found love, what changed? If you're still searching, What patterns do you recognize? If you're younger, what are you learning? Drop your thoughts below. Let's have real conversation about this, because pretending it's not happening helps nobody. The shame keeps women stuck. The silence keeps them suffering. Let's break both.